Mr. Madison will go first. Mr. Gordon, choose the topic. English literature, U.S. presidents, My Wife the Tramp, Burning Dog Poo and the Human Response, Reflections of Society and Literature.
Reflections of Society and Literature.
Good luck, schmuck.
Mr. Madison, the Industrial Revolution changed the face of the modern novel forever. Discuss, citing specific examples.
Come on.
Okay. The Industrial Revolution, to me, is just like a story I know called The Puppy Who Lost His Way. The world was changing, and the puppy was getting bigger. So you see, the puppy was like industry, in that they were both lost in the woods. And nobody, especially the little boy, society, knew where to find them. Except that the puppy was a dog. But the industry, my friends, that was a revolution. Nip-high football rules!
Mr. Madison, what you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Okay, a simple wrong would have done just fine, but...
Welcome to Flyby Films, once or twice a month, using the magic of distance-defying tubes, or some shit like that. We get together to discuss films that either have been or will be forgotten. I'm Blake Collier, and sitting next to me in this tiny little box, called a black box, I think, or a box that we push the button on? Never mind. We're digressing here. Anyways, sitting next to me in this tiny box is my friend and co-host Jameson Barsotti. How you doing, Jameson? You doing good?
I'm good. I have a question for you. When you turned on your computer, did someone that you didn't know die?
I mean, I thought that's what happened every time someone turns on their computer.
Because you had to
I thought that was the definition of population control.
Every time a Windows boots, a person loses their life.
That's why Apple never kills anyone, because it doesn't actually boot. See?
I was just thinking, that since you have to press the button.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I press so many buttons.
I just wasn't sure
including your nerd buttons.
I just wasn't sure if you remembered what we talked about the last time. Just checking, quizzing you.
No, I haven't. I have no recollection of what we've watched in the past. So, but nonetheless, on this episode, we are talking about Thoroughbreds, which is 2019, right?
2017.
Oh, God. Man, time really is a construct. It has my one of my favorite actresses, Anya Taylor-Joy, and Anton Yelchin. May you rest in peace. And I can never remember the other girl's name.
Olivia
I think
Cook.
she's really good. Olivia Cook. She's great. For some reason, can never remember her name. So,
Yeah. I'm a big
yeah,
Olivia Cook fan. So
she's great. Yeah.
she is
Yeah.
great. She was in Ready Player One, which is a terrible, terrible, terrible movie. But
Made by a terrible, terrible director.
whoa, you're gonna get some hate mail for that one. For those of you who don't remember, it was a terrible movie, but it was directed by Steven Spielberg, who, yeah. So I think he might need some introduction. I don't know, Blake. Do you want to introduce the indie director Steven Spielberg?
Yes, he directed the. Okay, let's just put it this way. He peaked at Jaws.
But that's some damn fine peeking.
Oh, it's amazing peaking.
Look,
But it was a strong fall afterwards.
okay. I was gonna say if he peaked at Jaws, there's a lot of mountain to climb down, right?
No, it was like a drop, like it was like a tree limb, like halfway down the mountain, and then he's just been hit tree limbs ever since.
Oh man, how do you feel about AI, artificial intelligence, the one with Haley Joel
I
Osment?
have a strong memory of going to see it in the theater and nothing else. I remember some teddy bear, like a robot teddy bear or some shit. My issue with Steven Spielberg, and I've heard that this is a complaint that a lot of people have. I'm the only person I know or that I've talked to who has had this complaint with him. So I find it interesting that other people are out there who have the same argument. But I think he's too damn sentimental. He ruins his stories with sentimentality, and I don't like it. I think it's unearned, and I think I just can't like it.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I could see that being a weakness. I just think, and I'm not even like a huge Steven Spielberg apologist. I do like AI a lot. Like I think that movie is really great, and it's probably a good candidate for this this podcast. So
Hey, I'll watch it.
get ready to revisit that.
Okay.
But I could see that being a negative. But I think he has a lot of strengths too. And I think he's definitely not as bad as Ron Howard at that. I think Ron Howard is worse with sentimentality and
Yeah, but that's like comparing like pee to poop. Like, I mean, yeah,
Blake.
they're both bad. Like,
Which one would you rather drink though?
pee.
Yeah. Of course. So
And I think you and I have different opinions on which one is which.
no. All right. We're not going to continue this conversation. Blake, how have you been? Other than being wrong about Steven Spielberg, how have you been?
I have been fine. I just got home from the last night of my company's bowling league.
Ooh.
Where I sucked it up so hard tonight. It was beautiful.
By sucked it up, would you say that you performed as a turkey might?
No, I did not get 3 strikes in a row. I got maybe 1 strike per game.
How many
and
games?
then maybe the occasional spare, and then a bunch of open frames in 2 games. So yeah, I would say it was a shitty night.
All right. Well, I guess that's one way to end your corporate bowling league on whimper, I guess.
Yeah, I mean it's Richard Kelly would be proud.
Richard Kelly would be proud. Well, okay.
How about
okay.
you, Jameson? How have you been doing?
I've been okay. My at work, our team lead is leaving tomorrow, leaving the company, and
Oh,
they don't
I thought
have
he
a
was
report.
actually like leaving to like another country or something like that. He was going on a trip, taking
No,
a journey.
no, she is opening with her husband a boutique sex shop. So, yeah. So it's I hope that it's very successful for them. So I know you weren't expecting me to say that, but it's true. It's true. Yeah.
I, I I hope their company takes a long time to peak. I hope I hope it's a long climax.
Very satisfying one. Yeah.
Yeah, deeply.
Blake, I'm proud of you. That was. I could
I'm still a kid at heart.
I could see that like working its way through your brain, and you were just trying
Well, I
to
just
get
didn't
it
see
out.
it coming. When I think boutique, I do not think of sex shop.
So one of the things that I realized, my boss was telling me about this, and she was saying like we're opening a boutique business, and they're describing it as a boutique, but I also realized she's British, and I think she just means a small business. So
Yeah. No, it makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah.
I just don't ever hear that in the same sense.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Uh,
A
but
small scale business. Yeah.
and
To a niche audience.
but we wished her well today, and that was kind of fun. She's been a really good boss, and she'll be missed. So we're not.
Does she have an
exactly-
accent?
Yes, she does.
That would be worth missing right there.
Yeah. But I do work with a lot of other British people because part of our company is now a lot of our data is housed by a team in Britain. So I work with them. So yeah, I still get to hear those accents.
How does that work, knowing that we defeated them in 1776?
Well, I make sure to ask them every time July 4th comes up if they're getting the day off. So that's how it works. And then we joke about it, and then I go, oh, yeah, sorry. I didn't mean to gloat.
Yeah.
But
that's awesome.
That's basically the gist of it. Anyway.
Would you like some tea?
Yeah, there's a bunch of Britishisms.
I like how Jameson just moved right on. He was just like, nope, not touching that with a 10-foot pole. Just moving right on.
No, I was thinking that tea is a very British thing, and you made me think of all these like Britishisms that they say. So they always like say fortnight, and my boss also. I don't know if this is specifically her or a Britishism, but she always says like have a think about it and stuff. And so
fortnight is 2 weeks, right?
Fortnight is 2 weeks, yeah. So
yeah, that's what I thought.
It's convenient whenever they're like, oh, maybe we should move this meeting from once a week to fortnightly. And I feel like in English we have like this idea of bi-weekly, which sometimes means you skip a week and sometimes means twice a week. But fortnightly never has that confusion. So I guess they beat us in that way. So anyway.
We can't win it all.
Yeah. We don't have to pay them taxes, but they know how to describe every other week better. So who knows who got the better end of that deal? I don't know.
Have you ever thought about the whole idea of taxation without representation and how such a bullshit reason for revolution that is?
Yeah, I have.
It's like, okay, we would get like maybe 2 or 3 parliament members. Me, is that really going to change our situation?
Yeah, I
Come on
mean,
now.
I don't I don't know. I mean, we're here now, and there are, some good things, I guess, about America. Um, there's some good ideas represented in the Constitution. So whether or not they came out good, I think we could
Mm,
discuss that. But I don't know. I do know that the taxation without representation gets bastardized all the time into taxation is theft, and that bothers me all the time.
yeah,
So I
I
I I get more upset about people who use roads and don't think about where the money for those roads come from. So
so so this is a weird tangent to take, but that's kind of what we do here.
sure.
I'm in the effort to make myself transparent about my finances. Um, I have two two stocks in Amazon, and it was there's a reason why it's only two. They're not cheap, and so there's a yearly meeting that they have where they send out all the people who own a share in the
Yeah.
company a a questionnaire. You need to vote for these various items. And the board, quote unquote, the board, which has Jeff Bezos on it, uh, recommends the responses to these questions. These are what the board recommends. Fairly normal, typical thing. Well, being a socialist that I am, I am of the mind that I vote against my own interest.
Hmm.
So my thinking is, because I'm not that smart, my thinking is whatever they tell me to do means it's good for them and it's good for me. So I choose the opposite of everything they tell me to do. And that's how I filled out.
All right. So Bezos gives you his recommendations of what you should choose, and
Well,
you
the board, not Bezos, and
no.
I'm using scare quotes here. The board,
Let's just
which they give us the bios of all the board members, and they sound like a wily bunch. They're very diverse for whatever that counts. They're
are
all
they
very rich.
are they diverse in their love of money and scale in that way?
No, that matter of fact, they
Oh.
that may actually be the least diverse part of
Hmm.
their existence. But they have the identity politics down. Like they look like a very like well-rounded, group of people. So, but
Like
they're all very rich.
when you say well-rounded, is it like in Willy Wonka when that girl turns into a blueberry?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
They're all very bloated.
All right. Well,
Ego and body.
I guess that's what
Very
happens when you
bloated
get
people.
rich. You
Yeah.
turn into a blueberry.
Weirdly, they're all their names were Veruca too.
Oh.
It was weird.
I couldn't remember that. I couldn't remember if Veruca Salt was the blueberry girl or if it was the girl who uh, gets sent into the incinerator.
Yeah, I think it's Veruca.
Okay.
I guess we need to buy a copy of the new version so that maybe we don't get all the bad ideas. But we still know who the character is, but we don't have to like hear bad names and things like that.
Okay. I don't know what you're referencing.
Yeah. Well, recently the publisher decided to clean up Roald Dahl books.
Oh, yes. I did hear about this.
Yeah.
I think I read an article that was like, if you're trying to read Roald Dahl for niceness, you're reading him wrong. So
Exactly. He was an asshole.
yeah.
And that's kind of the point.
So interesting.
Yeah.
So Blake, I am going to short circuit our banter a little bit because one of the things that I want to talk about with the movie, and this will lead to more banter. We'll just talk and talk and talk before we actually.
That's pretty much what this whole podcast is.
Yeah,
is
get to real movie talk. But one of the themes that I want to kind of talk about on the movie, or that the movie kind of made me think of, and why I wanted to bring it up on the podcast, is the idea of plagiarism. That shows up a lot in the movie, and so it just got me thinking of academic cheating and academic plagiarism, or plagiarism outside of academia, and different things like that, and if anyone had personal experiences with that. So I think if you listen to the intro-sode on this episode, you heard me call out for that, and we did actually get some responses, so we'll have to read them in a bit. I'll make good on my promise. But I did want to open it up to you and ask you if you had any good cheating or intellectual thievery stories.
So first off, for our audience members, Jameson had texted me and said, do you want to have some of my notes about this film before we do the recording? And my answer is, as you would expect, hell no. I go in cold. I'm on this journey. I'm on this ride. Take me where you want to go. But the one thing he did ask me about was if I had a cheating story. So I knew that was going to come up, and I did. I did have a cheating story. It's not necessarily like in the same vein as like what we saw in the movie, and kind of what you're largely the wider idea of plagiarism, at least in academia.
Blake, you don't know what the wider idea is because you wouldn't let me tell you. So
well, that's true. That's true. So you might surprise me.
Don't act like you understand my master plan.
Oh, I don't understand it. I just know what bullshit academia comes up with.
Yeah.
Okay, so my cheating story took place in, I want to say it was like third grade. I'm a little iffy on if it was third or fourth, fifth grade maybe. It was elementary. And every week, at the end of the week, we would get these cards, paper cards, and they showed us what our, attendance was, and any, other information about how we did that week. And what we had to do over the weekend was have our of course, give it to our parents, have our parents sign it. And if you did not bring it back the next Monday, there would be consequences. I did not remember what the consequences were. Apparently they were bad enough for me to do what I did. And that was forge my mom's signature onto the card. Very poorly, I might add, because I was merely a third, fourth, fifth grader. And it was in very delicate and tiny handwriting. The teacher surprisingly took a long time to realize it was not my mom's handwriting, which tells you the state of the school I went to. I'm just kidding. That was a really low blow. she did fine. She noticed it right off the bat. She's a very smart lady, whoever she was. I don't even remember. But
Smart and memorable.
but she called my mom. She took me out in the hallway and she's like, is this your signature? And I don't remember exactly if I kept lying or if I told the truth or what, but all I do remember is coming home that day and facing my mother, and my mother just started bawling because she was so disappointed that her son forged her signature onto this thing. That's all I remember. But that is, now, that being said, I'm sure there have been plenty of times. I have very strong opinions about plagiarism, so that's why I was kind of excited about this episode. But I'm sure I've plagiarized before, and I just didn't realize it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I am guilty as charged, I'm sure. But that's the only one that comes to mind that I actually got caught. So, and it's not even plagiarism, it's forgery. But academically speaking, what's the difference?
Sure.
Well, plagiarism is kind of nebulous anyways, so.
And you were in a way cheating,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I have a quick question. I love imagining little 8-year-old Blake doing that. So when you were writing out her signature, did you have a moment where you were like, looks legit, yeah, let's turn it in? Like,
I honestly don't remember what my thinking was at the time. I mean, the simple fact that I turned it in when I could have literally just kept it in my bag and said I forgot it, or just taken the consequences or whatever. I must have had some sense that it was going to work. Yeah. But I also didn't have a frontal lobe. So
that's so that question of what a cheater thinks is good enough is always so interesting to me. And so I don't know, like that bleeds into my story a little bit.
Sweet. I'm excited for this.
So it wasn't, unfortunately, you're not going to have any blackmail on me because it's not about me cheating. It's actually about me dealing with cheaters. So this was...
there you go. I've got one of those stories too, I can tell.
Oh, yeah. No,
yeah.
Absolutely. So this was my my last semester teaching mathematics at William and Mary. And
folks, I just want to pause for a second, and I just want our audience members to recognize that we have a host on this show that taught mathematics at William and Mary. So I just pause and just contemplate for a little bit on that.
I added those details to give context for this because math actually...
No, I am impressed. I've always been impressed that you understand math.
I am less impressed than you because I hear that and then I think, well, everybody understands math. They just don't think in the dumb symbols that mathematicians have made up. But all math is problem solving and pattern recognition. And yes, there's classical forms of math, algebra, geometry, and then
trig,
analysis.
My personal favorite.
Well, trig is kind of a sub of geometry.
Oh, how dare you, sir?
Oh, no.
How dare you say that trig is sub anything?
All right. You can have your world where trig is king.
Okay.
No subservice.
I am deeply triggered right now.
Oh.
Continue on with the story.
Blake, that was a good one. I think I'm the only one who's going to think that's a good one, but I'm very proud of that pun. dad level status.
Okay.
So it was the spring of 2020. So halfway through, I don't know if anybody remembers, but that was the year where halfway through the spring semester, everything shut down because of a small, tiny virus called COVID. And I know we're sick of hearing about that, but that's what happened. So everything switched from being in person to now being online. And apparently college students' brains couldn't handle that amount of freedom when it came to, taking examinations and doing work. And so pretty soon after, I gave a midterm, and as I was grading it, I just noticed that, man, a lot of these answers look the same. So this was Calc 1, I guess. So it was derivatives, and funnily enough, everything was looking pretty derivative. So I got a little curious, and I was like, I wonder if there's like a calculator for this stuff online. So I looked, and sure enough, there's like a derivative calculator that takes you through and prints out the steps. It was like derivativecalculator.com, first Google result that came up. And so this is where I'm like, okay, so like 40 children in my class thought, oh yeah, I'm going to search for this online and just take the first result, and no one will know the wiser. And no one else.
Please tell me that every single person in your class used it.
Not every single person. But I was like, man, I can't send, 30 plus people to the honor system. So William and Mary Ancient University has like a very, very boisterous, I think that's a good term for it, boisterous honor code. I don't want to say that it's very strict. I have pretty strong opinions about that after all of the shit that I went through. I don't think they take it seriously, and you can quote me on that. Come at me, William and Mary. But they make a big show out of it. So I was like, I can't send all these kids. So how am I going to deal with this? So what I decided on was I said, okay, this was the second midterm. We have a final coming up. I will give you an option. If you cheated, then we will, consider it water under the bridge, but this is what you have to do. Actually, I didn't say if you cheated. I said, if for whatever reason you want, you can contact me before I'm done grading and say, Professor Barsotti, I don't want you to grade my exam, and I will have the points for it rolled over into the final. And then I will be graded on the final. And I will not waste my time grading your midterm exam, and you will just be judged on the final exam. And you could do that for whatever reason you want, and obviously I'm winking as I'm saying this. If you don't do that, and I discover that you cheated, I'm going to give you a 0. So you could either have me not grade it, or you could do that. I got 27 responses to not grade exams.
How many people were in the class?
I think there was it was between two classes, and I think there was about 60. So it was close to 50.
About half.
Yeah, half.
Jeez.
Yeah, it was pretty depressing, and so I was like, okay, I have to take the final a lot more serious. And I explained it, and I made them sign the first page of it saying, like, if I cheat on this, I get an F in the class. And so they did that. And I don't actually care about kids getting expelled, but if you're going to cheat on the final and basically show me that you didn't learn anything, I just want you to retake the class. Like, I just want it to be an annoyance for you. I think that's like the perfect punishment. And so I was like, all right, if you cheat, I'm not gonna, I'm just gonna fail you, and then I'm gonna peace out, and you could retake the class. And I still found like 10 cheaters on the final, and that was pretty crazy. One of them, I ended up finding her exam posted on Chegg, and it matched, like the picture on Chegg matched with all of her scratch work. And I
my gosh.
found the pictures, and when I confronted her, she was like, I didn't do it, I swear. I was like, okay, fine. I guess it turned out that she had like offloaded it to someone else to do, and they had posted it on Chegg, and I was like,
gotcha.
You realize how it doesn't really change anything. And then another case, I found like a ring of 3 guys who had like all just shared their tests between them, and they made mistakes. And so one of them, he freaked out when I gave him an F. He was like, I'm going to have your head, or whatever. I don't know. He said something to, he emailed me, and I was like, this is my last, I'm out of here. Like, you could bring it up. So we had like a video recording session where I had him walk me through this answer. And when he got to kind of the telltale mistake, he's like trying to do it, and then he just says, fucker, and then continues on. It's one of the most incriminating moments I've been witness to. But so it was a shit show. I was having a really bad semester as it was, and then I was having to deal with that. But
I remember that semester for you.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, so that was my kind of academic scandal.
So I had a similar situation. It was only with one kid. Well, I mean, there was other kids that cheated during my time as a teaching assistant, but this is the one that's memorable because it was just so obvious. So I was a teaching assistant for, low grade American history classes, required classes for incoming students to Texas Tech University. No William and Mary, but it is what it is. So I was looking through all these essays that they had to turn in about probably a book or something, some piece of history or something that they had to write, small response paper on, 4 or 5 pages probably. And I kid you not, this kid had the audacity or the complete idiocy to leave the link in the printed paper. So literally all I had to do was type in the link.
Oof.
And I found it. And I mean, there's just no coming back from that. Like either he wanted to get kicked out, or he really is so dumb he probably shouldn't be there anyways.
Yeah, I
don't know of any other way. Like that. How does one do that?
I mean, I think it becomes desperate. I can put myself in that place where you're desperate and you have this blindness to the things that you need to do. Like, I think we've all been in classes where some assignment looks bigger than it actually is.
Yeah.
And I think that's what ends up happening. I don't think that's an excuse for this. And I think, again, like, the perfect punishment is just to make them, like, make it a thorn in their side and have them realize, like, yeah, the paper wasn't really like worth retaking an entire class, but like,
I mean,
yeah,
like you, I never turned a kid in for plagiarizing.
yeah,
Never once. I would fail them, but never turned them in.
yeah.
Never cared to.
I think I told my kids, I was like, I don't know. I guess there's an honor council. You can maybe appeal it to them. And then everybody was like so confused. They were like, no, usually the professor approaches the honor council. And I was like, I don't have time for that. I already made my judgment. Like, you guys can like, and so the kids ended up opening their own honor, like, council thing, and they all lost anyway. So,
that's hilarious.
But, yeah. I mean, and that story you're telling kind of underlines again this interesting thing. Like when you're in that mode, what makes you think that this is passable? Like what makes you think that you're going to get away with this? And
yeah,
I think that's such an interesting theme.
So let me ask you real quick. We'll get into this, I'm sure, more with the actual film, but I just want your no caveat answer, and then we can break it apart.
Sure.
We'll both answer this, and then we can break it apart later. Do you think plagiarism is wrong?
No.
Me neither.
I think that if the goal of a class is to teach you an idea and the teacher can't tell if you've learned anything because of plagiarism, then the teacher has every right to fail you. But I don't think that's a judgment on you as an individual, or even a judgment on how ideas get transferred. I think it's more of an indication of how I guess a gap in the learning process and the judging process of the learning process. But we'll get into this, I'm sure.
Oh yeah. Totally.
Yeah. But so we got a few emails, and Blake, I'm gonna ask if you have access to it. Do you want to read one of them? Do you want to read Thad's?
How about you read the other one and I'll pull it up.
Okay, I'm gonna read. We got one from Kira Barsotti. I think she's an on again off again listener. I this is the first time we've heard from her. I think. I don't know. It sounds familiar. No, I'm just kidding. That's my wife.
Your wife? Your wife cheated?
She didn't cheat.
Oh shit!
It's about someone else.
Your wife wouldn't cheat.
Well,
your wife's too nice.
She's pretty great. Okay, so I'm gonna read this email from Kira. Okay, so this is not an academic plagiarism story, but I have a story. When I was about 16 years old, I got involved in a drawing class at my local art center. There was another kid in that class with me, but it was mostly old ladies. I became friends with this kid, and we started to hang out outside of the drawing class. On the first and last day, I went over to their house. I noticed a drawing of a cyborg dragon on their corkboard. It was an exact copy of something I had drawn and posted on my DeviantArt account, which is, for those unfamiliar, is a place where artists used to post their art online. I think they still do.
Good old Web 1.0.
Yeah.
Miss those days.
I confronted them by saying something fairly neutral like, "Hey, cool, that's my drawing." To which they said, "No, I made that character up." Maybe it was because there was a third party present. They had another friend over in addition to myself. And maybe I had caught them in a lie, and they were trying to save face with their friend, which is why they dug in. I was and continue to be baffled to this day. They were a perfectly fine artist themselves, and they are professional artists today. So I didn't understand the need to steal my art. I guess I could have been flattered, but I was mostly hurt and annoyed at the injustice.
Wait. Okay, back up a little bit.
Sure.
She said that this was a professional artist now?
Yes, it is now a professional artist. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Anyway, I said something dumb like, "No, I'm pretty sure that's my drawing. It was my drawing." And then it got real quiet and awkward, and I never spoke to them again after that visit. The end.
Damn right. Yeah. Okay, well,
Yeah.
we
So-
got according to this person who said he was 2/3 of our listening audience. I don't know how that works out mathematically. Maybe you're smarter than me, Jameson, but that doesn't make a lot of sense. But we got an email from Thaddeus Harrington, who was on our last episode, with his own very smart teacher ways, catching a cheater in his class. And he states, I listened to Jameson's introsode asking for readers to share any cheating stories they have. And I felt compelled to share. One from a teacher friend of mine and one from my own experience. My friend told me of how he once confronted a student for plagiarizing his essay, to which the student replied, "Well, I didn't know it was plagiarized when I bought it." For mine, I had a student claim that it was just a coincidence that every word of his 1,200-word essay matched an essay I found online. When I showed him the report from Turnitin, he pointed desperately at the end of his essay and said, "These websites here." Me? Your works cited entries? Him. Yeah, I never went to these sites. Me. You never went to the sites that you cited as your sources for where you got this information? Him. No, never. Me. So do you see the problem here? Moral of the story is, he did not. He did not see the error of his ways.
It is clear he did not
It
see
is clear he did not see it. So yeah, that's classy.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like this kid and the kid that I had in my class would have made really great friends.
I definitely think, too, there's a sense that if you buy something on, buy an exam or something like that, you shouldn't have to, you should get your money's worth, and it's almost an injustice to them that they, that they're caught with it, too, which is kind of funny.
I mean, I at least appreciate the student's reasoning on the first one.
Yeah.
Because if you buy something, you expect it to be original, and that it's its own. It's a work of originality and intellectual, artwork, and clearly it was just plagiarism, and that would piss me off.
Yeah. I think that jives with this idea that if you buy something, it's yours, right?
Yeah,
you
exactly.
get ownership of it. So,
yeah.
So we have
okay. So we have a third one, right?
We have one more story, and it's sent to us by a listener named Virgil, and I'm putting that in quotes because this listener wants to be anonymous. So Virgil says, "I'd be honored if you could share this story on your pod. I've changed the names and dates to protect the guilty, I suppose. I've also utilized ChatGPT to enhance the story, which is actually really funny in this case, because that's kind of like using plagiarism to tell a story about plagiarism. So,
awesome.
I think it's a great job. Okay, so the story goes, back in the scorching summer of 2008, I returned home from college determined to master the art of coasting through my senior year. I figured enrolling in a world religions class at the local community college would be the perfect way to achieve that. Coincidentally, my brother Robert also needed to take the same class. He signed up not just for the educational experience, but also to mooch rides from me every day. Siblings. Taking a class with Robert turned out to be an unexpectedly enjoyable adventure. We had our fair share of sibling banter, awkward group discussions, and occasional strategic eye roll during lectures. Who knew studying world religions could be so entertaining? However, as fate would have it, summer came to a close and I found myself summoned to my teacher's office after our final class. Panic set in as she sternly asked me if I had plagiarized my paper. My mind went into overdrive, wondering what parallel universe would ever lead someone to accuse me of such a crime. I vehemently denied the accusation, exclaiming, "No, absolutely not." To my astonishment, the teacher calmly revealed another student's name, let's just call them name redacted, or another student's paper. And to my horror, it was an exact replica of my work. It was then that the light bulb in my brain flickered to life. My brother Robert had shamelessly ripped off my paper. The realization hit me like a cosmic punchline. Here I was, innocently striving for academic excellence, only to have my own flesh and blood turn my hard work into his personal shortcut. The audacity. But before I could concoct a devious plan for revenge, the teacher shared her resolution. She explained that while name redacted, as we've discussed Robert, would face the grim consequences of failure, she would not report them to the dean for suspension or expulsion. Turns out Robert had a learning disability and probably didn't fully comprehend the gravity of their action. So they received a gentle slap on the wrist instead of a full-blown academic guillotine. All right. Yeah. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's almost Shakespearean.
Yeah, that's a pretty fun story about brothers turning on brothers.
Yeah. I never had a brother, so wouldn't know.
I was gonna ask if your siblings ever did shit like that.
You know, my sister was 6 years older than me. We were basically just two single children. We never shared the same school or anything. She was always in high school when I was in middle school. She was in college when I was in high school. So.
Yeah, I guess that age difference is like just enough time to skip all of the schools.
Yep, exactly. But we get along famously now.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good times.
So I think that's all the academic dishonesty stories that we have. So
I'm a little disappointed that we didn't get any call-ins. I really think this show needs more call-ins.
Well, I think we got a bunch of responses, so I do think maybe I didn't specify that you could call in my intro.
Oh, you did. You did.
Okay. I did make a point to point out the email address, though, so I think people gravitated towards that. But I think we'll keep it up. I think this was a good idea, and we can move forward with this. So hopefully we'll get call-ins in the future.
Yeah, we just have to come up with interesting questions to ask for each film.
Which might be difficult, so.
Yeah. Well, whenever we get to the movie Secretary, we'll just ask for people to write in and tell us about their sexual kinks.
Yeah, that will be... people will be itching to call us about that.
Yeah. Maybe they can order some stuff from the boutique.
Yeah, maybe we could get sponsored by the boutique.
Hey, can you ask them if they would sponsor our show? I would totally be down for a sex boutique to be our sponsor.
Yeah, that might be a good idea. I don't want any sponsors right now. So,
That's fair. Yeah. Sponsorships never go well anyways.
yeah. But yeah, I guess if you want to sponsor us, maybe we could talk about that.
Maybe. Only it has to be a very specific sponsor for us to say yes to it. Like a sex shop boutique.
Now that I'm thinking about it, a sex shop boutique would be good. All right,
I think it'd be hilarious. So Jameson,
boy.
we've hit a little bit over what we normally do with the random banter, although it wasn't so random today. Because we actually did have we were tying it in. But tell me why did you pick this film?
Well, I saw this film.
Besides your interest in plagiarism, of course.
I saw this film in theaters when it came out, and I remembered enjoying it. And it was also it came out after Anton Yelchin's death, so I knew he was in it. It also came out after The Witch happened, and so Anna Taylor-Joy was on everybody's mind, and this was another film with her in it, and it just, it was being advertised as kind of a sequel, or not a sequel, a spiritual successor of Heathers and something like that, and you can definitely see that too. I would say, it's maybe got some Heathers, but also some Hitchcock. So you're kind of mixing the two types. But yeah, I just remembered really liking it, and it kind of stuck with me. But I hadn't revisited it yet, and you don't hear it talked about a ton these days. It kind of just blipped. It made, it got some good reviews when it came out. So I was like, well, maybe it wasn't as good as I remembered it. And we watched it, and I actually really, really enjoyed it. So I enjoyed it again. So I was happy to revisit it.
Yeah, so as Jameson knows already, I remember watching this at home. It was probably maybe a few months after it came out in theaters. Probably right when it had hit streaming or, rent online. And I remember liking it. I didn't remember being wowed by it. Like it was one of those movies that I was like, okay, that was well done and interesting and whatnot, but I did not think about it much at all after I watched it. So whenever he told me that we were watching it again, I was like, well, I think my actual response was, are you trying to make me depressed because it's Anton Yelchin's last film? And that made me sad because I actually really like him as an actor. And I was like, well, I mean, it's only going to get better in my estimation, considering the fact that he's now dead, and I'll have nostalgic response to it, and I kid you not, I really liked it this time around. All the tension worked, all the actors and the characters they were playing worked for me, and I think Olivia Cooke, as much as I like Anya Taylor-Joy, I think Olivia Cooke steals the show on this one. But she kind of has more to do, which is funny to say because she's playing pretty much a blank slate emotionally. So, but if you're not actually a sociopath and you're playing a sociopath, I would imagine it's fairly hard. So,
well, do we know that Olivia Cooke is not a sociopath?
no, not for sure, but I've seen her in other things, and she seems to be fairly capable of pretty seemingly realistic emotion. So,
Are you saying she has very good technique?
yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Especially her crying. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the big points of the movie is that her character, she's a sociopath, but she could cry, and it's just very realistic. And she also tries to teach the other character, Lily. So I think I got all of the character names for this.
Amanda,
Well, not all of
Lily.
them. I don't actually. Mark is the stepdad.
Oh, Mark. That guy.
Yeah. And then I forget.
Yeah, I
Anton
do too.
Yelchin's name.
I was trying to
Tim.
think.
No, it's
Tim?
Tim.
Okay.
It's Tim. Yeah. So those are the four kind of main characters in the movie, and then there's another one which is Lily's mom,
But she's kind of
who
a
shows
non-character, largely.
She's a non-character. She's not, she's a vehicle for Lily's character to kind of do things with, but that's about it. Yeah.
Well, and
so it's got a
go ahead.
Oh. It's got a pretty simple plot too. Like, it's these two girls. One of them is a sociopath, and they used to be friends, and there's a reason why they're not friends anymore. But they're hanging out, and they devise a plan to kill the one of their, so Lily, Anna Taylor-Joy's stepfather, because it's revealed that she hates her stepfather for whatever reason, and then it kind of plays out, and
yeah. Have you seen the other film that Corey Finley did after this?
Oh, was it that HBO film Bad Education? I have not.
It's
not
pretty
seen
good.
it,
It's pretty good. Hugh Jackman's great in it. But I found it interesting, especially considering that you latched onto the idea of plagiarism in this one, which, like, in theory, like it's the ambient element in the whole film, but actually it doesn't get mentioned, but maybe in one scene, which I think is hilarious.
Yeah.
But I think you're right to pick up on that because it is so kind of ever present in the film. It kind of is like the inciting incident for all of this. And Bad Education is similar in that it's dealing with academic crime, admittedly of a different sort, but it seems that Corey Finley has an interest in crime within academia, and I kind of love him for that. So
yeah. No, rewatching this, because I don't think I was fully on that wavelength when I watched it the first time of picking up that how kind of important that is to the story, and like you said, kind of the ambient theme. But I watched it again, and so I definitely do want to check out Bad Education, especially because
it's not as pretty.
I think
of a film. It's very much it feels like a made for HBO kind of film, but it's good.
Yeah. Yeah, and it has Ray Romano in it, right?
And he's great. But Ray Romano is great in everything except for Everybody Loves Raymond. Well, everything he's done since that sitcom has been gold.
Yeah. Actually, I'm rewatching Fargo, and Brad Garrett is in the second season, and he's also kind of wonderful in that too. This is just an aside, but it's interesting to see the faces of evil in each season of that show, and the second one, it's all about. So it takes place kind of at the eve, or at the dawn of the Reagan era. So Reagan is kind of not quite president yet, but he's a skyrocketing force, and the the evil is the market,
Yeah.
and kind of what the market decides and what it tells you, who it tells you to kill and who it tells you not to kill.
Yeah.
So that's fascinating to me. Anyway, that was just an aside, but yeah, I guess I want to ask some peripheral questions before we get into plagiarism exactly. But just as you're watching it, one, it's kind of a chilling last role for Anton Yelchin, right?
Yeah. Because he's kind of a slime ball.
He's a slime ball, and there's like a point in the movie where they ask him if his life is really worth it, and they like pose that, and that definitely stuck with me more this time, especially knowing that like 14 days after he wrapped this film, he had this freak accident. And so if you're unfamiliar with this, Anton Yelchin was a very young actor who, I think he was 27 or 28. He was trying to get into his house, and he like got out of his car, and I don't think drugs and alcohol were involved at all.
Aware.
I just think it was just weird, and his car ends up rolling and pitting him against his like gate, and that was it. So it's very sad, and he's very promising actor. Could have had a really long and interesting career. It was already interesting, but yeah. So, but speaking of death in the movie, so the girls end up succeeding in their plan. Spoiler alert, whatever. But I wanted to ask you this: did Mark deserve to die?
I mean, is anyone who's a complete asshole deserving of death? Probably not. Do you kind of want them to die? Yeah. In most fiction, most of those characters are pretty unlikable, and you're pretty willing to let them just, end. But in reality, no, probably not. He probably didn't deserve it. Yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you hit on an interesting point, which is he's a complete and total asshole, but I feel like the movie pulls back and just steps away from making him a true monster, right?
Yeah.
Like it never tips its hand. Like he's controlling, he's mean, he's annoying, but it never quite tips its hand into like he's an abuser or he's trying to, seduce Lily or anything like that. He's just a big fucking asshole. And I think this movie does a really good job of asking you that question, like, do assholes deserve to die? And so I think that one was definitely the one that stuck with me when I first watched it. Was like, oh, this is an interesting portrayal of this. And yeah, it's just fascinating. In fact, there's one scene where he like kind of faces off against Lily, and he like calls her out, and she starts crying, and you feel bad for her, and then Amanda comes and is like, oh, you're using the technique, you're crying on command to make it look like you're crying, and Lily's like, I'm not using the technique, and then Amanda goes, but he wasn't wrong about any of that. Like, and you just kind of realize like, oh, maybe he does see the world clearer than he's given credit for.
Is he
again?
But is he communicating that clarity in a way that is going to be heard and or useful to anyone? Probably not.
No.
But yeah, I would agree. I think Amanda's the most honest person in the film, and I think Mark might be the second most honest person in the film.
Yeah. That's true. That's true. Or maybe what was the horse's name?
Yeah, I don't remember the horse's name, but definitely easily the most honest character in the movie. And we see him for a total of what? Maybe 10 seconds.
Yeah, you see there. Yeah, you see a horse at the very beginning, and that's it.
Yeah.
But
Here, so kind of riding off of this, real quick. Do you get the sense that the whole thing was actually maneuvered by Lily, and that she was literally playing Amanda the whole time? Because as I was watching it this time around, I almost got the sense that she actually was using Amanda's persona and her personality and her sociopathy against her, and that she was playing her the whole time.
Yes.
The only thing that would fight against that is the final scene where she lays in the lap of Amanda after she's killed Mark. That's the only thing that's the only scene that makes me maybe there's some, maybe it wasn't quite that way, but I got the sense through the whole film that like she knew what she was doing.
Yes, and I think I agree with that. And I also have an interesting take on that.
Okay. Sweet.
That other part. So, I think that Lily wishes she was Amanda.
Oh yeah. I think that's pretty clear.
I think Lily is a serial plagiarist, and not just that, but I think that's her identity. Is a plagiarist who has no original way to live life.
Gotcha.
And so she contacts her friend, or her quote-unquote friend, who she knows has to live life by stealing from other people and basically utilizing that, utilizing other people's mirrors, and so she has to do that, and I think that's what she's doing the entire time. And so in that sense, I think you could interpret it as kind of a loving embrace of her friend at the end, or you could also interpret it as almost vampiric. Like, she had just gone and done this insanely difficult human thing, which is murder someone.
Yeah.
She had just done this, and she was depleted. She couldn't, continue to live, so she went and just tried to absorb more of her friend's energy. That's one way that I read it.
That's good. I like that.
That's, to me, a very creepy way of looking at it. I think what bothers me about that scene is she does try to stop her friend from drinking the Rohypnol, so she doesn't go to sleep. And again, I think that's because she is butting up against what she's capable of doing. She's not a true sociopath, but she's a plagiarist, so she can copy the sociopath. And so it's bothering her doing these things outside of the ordinary,
Yeah.
murdering someone, roofing them. And so she can't get herself to quite do that. But then as soon as it happens, she like is able to kind of go into the role, and she like doesn't, you know, she doesn't try to help her friend as soon as she goes out. She you know, goes for this scheduled plan, and so anyway, I think she is playing her friend the whole time.
I like the
At least that's
idea
my
of the plagiarist. I like that she is a her whole being is plagiarist. Like she is seeking to
Yeah.
She is empty enough to where she is filling herself up with any and everything that she can find to mimic or imitate. And like you said, drawing the energy out of those things or people. I think that's good. Yeah, I like that. And it at least makes sense of the ending for me. At least gives it a nice bow to like say that that's a valid reading of the film.
Yeah, speaking of the ending, I actually had a quick question. One of the things that they do at the end is it ends with a dream sequence. I wanted to ask you, do you think movies that end with dream sequences are bad?
Huh.
Do you think that's too cliche?
I mean, I'm having a hard time thinking of films off the top of my head that end with dream sequences. So the two that I can think of right off the top of my head are this one, of course, and You Were Never Really Here.
Okay.
And both of those movies. Oh, so I'll say You Were Never Really Here. I absolutely adore. I think it's one of the best films in the last 10 years. This one is very good. I wouldn't put it necessarily in the same category, but those two films at least prove to me that it's possible to do it well. Does it take in this instance, I don't think it takes away from You Were Never Really Here at all. I think it's actually fitting the way it ends. But this one, I can see an argument saying that it kind of he's kind of, you know, backing away a little bit, you know, from kind of the coldness of the film, and he's kind of giving this a little bit of warmth when I don't really think he needs it. But I wasn't really deeply bothered by it either. So because the rest of the film was so well done that I was like, meh, missteps happen all the time.
Yeah.
So
I don't actually even think it was much of a misstep. So I think I'm on your side. I was noticing it, and I was thinking about how much of a cheat code it is to like make your film more interesting.
Yeah.
And so that made me worried if it's like, oh, you know, almost like, again, with plagiarism, like someone had done it before, it was a good idea, like David Lynch. Or actually, the two examples that I could come up with outside of this were both Coen brothers.
Oh, that's funny.
Raising Arizona and No Country for Old Men.
Mm-hmm.
And I adore those films, but at the same time, I still think there's like a valid thought that like, oh, it might have kind of an unearned interestingness to it.
Yeah.
Like you could have anything and then add a nonsensical dream sequence, and then people are going to discuss what does that mean.
I think you're right.
So.
And I think on the whole, most people can't do it properly. Where I do think, and as I'm sure I'll get hate mail on this as well as my hatred of Steven Spielberg, but I'm not a huge Raising Arizona fan. So I'm sure that'll pop up as a film at some point. and I don't recall the quality of the final scene in that movie. I probably need to watch it again. It's been a while, but uh, I know with You Never Really Here and No Country for Old Men, the dream was such. The dream at the end was such that the lines between dream and reality were so liminal as to almost make them indistinguishable from each other. And so part of me is like, if you can't pull that off, then it is a bit of a cheat code. And I think No Country does it well. And I think You Were Never Really Here does it well, to where you're not actually entirely sure where the dream starts and where it ends. And so, or if it actually ever was a dream. Really? Like, so.
Yeah, and actually, I really like Raising Arizona's dream sequence at the end. I think, I do think too, it doesn't really blur those lines. Like, if you think about it for a second, you realize that it is just a dream, but it actually has a poignancy to it in that it's a dream that can never be attained by these characters. Yeah. And it like makes the whole movie, which is very, very funny, end on a very, very sad note. Like, and
which is very,
and there's,
which is
you know,
very
there's
Coen Brothers. So
yeah, there's a little bit of like goofiness at the very, very end. Like the final note is kind of goofy and gives you a little like wink. But if you take the dream sequence for what it's worth, it's talking about a sadness that it's talking about something that will never be, and there's a sadness to that. So I actually really like that, and all of these, including You Were Never Really Here, I agree that movie is incredible. So but on that note, I actually wanted to read the dream explained at the end of this movie.
Okay, go for it.
So I have the quote lined up, and then I'm going to ask you what you think it's about.
So who explained this? Wait, are you just reading the dream itself from the movie?
Yeah,
okay.
I was going to read the dream
Gotcha.
from the movie.
I thought you were reading someone explaining the dream from the movie. Okay.
Oh no, I'm gonna ask you to explain it after I read
Gotcha.
So the scene takes place. Lily is talking to Tim, and this is the final scene in the movie, and she's explaining that Amanda sent her a letter, and in it, Amanda explains two dreams. One of them is a quick one where she sees herself as a horse, and then the other one is kind of the final lines of the movie. And so this is Amanda. She's the voice reading her letter to the audience. So I had a dream. Well, she doesn't say that, but she's talking about the dream. I'm Honeymooner. Honeymooner is the name of the horse. That's what we're trying to talk about. I'm Honeymooner, and I'm dying. And I rise out of my body, and I'm staring down at our whole suburb. And time is speeding up. And I see generations of people coming and going and building bigger houses. And then eventually, the people start spending more and more of their time staring at their smartphones. And soon enough, they're forgetting to clean their houses, or mow their lawns, or eat. And eventually, all the houses rot and collapse, and the people disappear, vanishing completely into the internet. And then, and this is the really beautiful part, the horses take over. And the whole suburb is just beautiful, thoroughbred stallions with no owners and no memory of owners, and no way of knowing how expensive they are, just mating and galloping through the ruins.
See, I remember you you actually whenever you asked me about whether dreams at the ends of movies makes the movie bad, uh, I I had a vague recollection that I didn't actually mind the final dream in this film, but whenever you read it just then, I actually find myself liking it even more.
Okay.
You didn't think I was going to go that direction, did you?
No, you juked me there.
Yeah, I actually, I mean, it's a little on the nose, I think. It's, it's a vague, criticism of the empire of man and the urban sprawl and how man has, made a concrete jungle out of everything and conquers everything and all this stuff. And then technology conquers man and sucks it into the internet, blah, blah, blah. And then nature can come back and reclaim what it once had, which is marked by the fact that the thoroughbreds can then run and mate and gallop and not remember the owners that they once had, blah, blah, blah. It's utopian. It's fairly straightforward and a little bit on the nose, but what I like about it and what I think it kind of nails is that what she's talking about is a transcendence of what we've talked about with Lily. It's a transcendence of this mirrored being, and just, I don't want to say going back to nature because that's stupid too, but it's becoming what we were meant to be ultimately, and thoroughbreds were meant to be wild and galloping and mating and not being owned and all these things. And having Amanda quote that at the end is meaningful because it's probably the closest to emotion she gives in this whole movie. And she does it through her choice of words. Not in her inflection of voice or anything like that, but what she says emotes.
This is true. And actually, right after she reads it, the camera does pan to her, and she smiles for the first time in the movie.
Yeah,
and also the last time.
I do admit I do remember that, and part of me kind of hoped that she stopped smiling and it was all technique the whole time. But that would have been a little cheap too. So.
yeah. But I think you're right. I think there's a sense, again, getting back to plagiarism, getting back to that idea and mirroring and things like that. If you think about the suburbs, that's us, we're here and nature exists. Mm-hmm. Nature is wild and we have to tame it, but we go further than that. We take the idea of a world made for us, and we create an even smaller world made for us. We create a suburb. We create it's
a mirror of a city. It's a decayed mirror of a city. That is. It's a mirror.
And then as that dream kind of progresses, you see these other mirrors, and instead of things kind of getting better, they start decaying.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually, we get sucked into the internet, and then these true originals are allowed to exist.
Yeah.
And I think calling out, the horses not knowing how expensive they are, that's us taking taking an idea of a horse and pretending like it's our own, right?
Yeah.
Which is like this idea of plagiarism. And we bastardize these things in this way. So I thought that was interesting, and I do think it's maybe a little more obscure to tie it back into that, but I think it ties back in to this ambient thing.
Well, and the simple fact that she's at the very end when she smiles for the first time, she's staring in a mirror. I mean, that's...
Yeah.
She's literally doing what Lily was doing the whole movie, like just trying to like imitate. And so the other thing, the whole time I was watching this film, this time, have you seen Gone Girl?
Yes.
Okay, so Alyssa Wilkinson, film critic who was paid. So take this for what it's worth. It's going to be lesser than our opinion because we are unpaid, but I think she had a point here, so I'm gonna give her credit. Whenever she wrote her review of Gone Girl, she said it's a love story about when a sociopath meets a psychopath. And I thought that was actually damn near perfect as a summary of the movie Gone Girl. And I kind of saw a reflection of that in this film, in that a sociopath and a psycho, because I really do think Lily was a bit of a psychopath. So
yeah,
and
I think
that reads into the kind of what we've been talking about their kind of back and forth relationship, and the fact that she's ultimately the one who ends up murdering someone, even though she's the one who, Amanda's the one who is like so cold-blooded about the very idea of murder and all this stuff. And I could not get Gone Girl out of my head the whole time I was watching this film, because it's not a perfect one-to-one, but I found myself thinking a lot about how both films bring these two mentalities in collision with each other. And I, to the point where, when this doesn't happen as much as it used to, but to where I almost kind of want to write something about it. But yeah, it's something about their relationship and it being, what I like about it is it never goes the whole romantic route, where it could have been like a dangerous liaison kind of thing. I like the fact that it always just kind of teeters on that, but it's always very friend, like it's always platonic, but because Lily is constantly absorbing Amanda, there is that element, like it almost feels like she needs closeness, she needs intimacy from this other girl, and so
absolutely,
weird random thought, but there you go.
No, I think that's a good point, especially about kind of the intimacy and the nearly like erotic nature of their relationship. I wouldn't say it like goes quite down that road, but yeah, there are definitely points where it's like, a kind of a will they go that way. But I think again that fits in with this interpretation of Lily as kind of a vampire, as kind of an absorber. Which I think that's interesting. So we've spent this time talking mostly about Lily and Amanda, and a little bit about Mark, but let's get into Tim, because we did do a big lead up about Anton Yelchin.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah, so I
So
did so real quick. I did want to point out that the final scene where Amanda looks in the mirror after she tells her dream and she smiles and whatnot. Shortly after that, the final scene is Anya Taylor-Joy looking at Tim, and I couldn't help but think that there's a little bit of a parallel there, and that she almost sees a type of reflection, and in Tim. Admittedly, Tim is the failed version of her. One might say, the one who wasn't willing to go the whole distance with his his psychopathy. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. No, I think Tim isn't a psychopath, but I do actually have it written down here too, kind of on that note. Like, I think Tim represented to me like covetousness, which is almost like, I was thinking about covetousness in its relationship to plagiarism, and how like one is kind of the desire for someone else's stuff, someone else's thoughts, someone else's ideas, and then the other is kind of the action of taking those. So they kind of go hand in hand. And Tim is like, yeah, he represents. He's always talking. He's kind of this low level drug dealer.
Mm-hmm.
He's been to prison. He's a sex offender because he was 23 and he slept with a 17-year-old, and got caught. And then he now just sells drugs, and his like goal in life is just to become a great drug dealer. Like that's his goal. But you get him talking more, and he just talks about, I'm going to own this house. I'm going to own these cars. I'm going to, I want these things that these other people have. But he doesn't really have the ability to go get them. So in that sense, he is kind of like a failed version of Lily, where Lily, she might not have the abilities that Amanda has, and she wants those, but she at least has the ability to do them, to act towards, getting them. But yeah. I was going to ask something about Tim. Tim is actually a very sad character in this movie, because they take advantage of him really hardcore. But I actually think there's it's interesting because they basically trap him to do something, but then there's a sense where he escapes kind of this hall of mirrors in a way by just deciding not to do it. and so there's a sense where he does get to kind of have an original idea there, and have this sense of, I'm choosing this for myself, and it ends up better for him. He doesn't end up getting caught in their web.
Would you say that Tim is the most moral character in this movie? I almost would.
Yeah, no, I think for the scenes in the movie, like, we don't see Tim before the movie. We don't see Tim, but yes, I think he is the one who acts the most moral. Is he the most ethical character? No, I think Amanda is the most ethical character. She for all of her like inability to feel emotions, she can reason exactly why she's acting in all of these ways, but there is kind of a funny thing that happens with Tim, where he starts out as like a dishwasher, and then he becomes a valet, and you realize, oh, you do get to drive those cars now.
Yeah, exactly.
But again, in these kind of mirrored in lesser than ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's, yeah, it wasn't, not that you get to choose what your last role is going to be, but, but it was an interesting last role. Considering especially the run he had before that. Specifically, I'm thinking of Green Room, which I think is, if not one of his best, his best, if not one of his best. So, yeah. Tim.
So Blake.
Fucking Tim, man.
Yeah. Fucking Tim. R.I.P. Anton Yelchin.
May you rest in peace.
At least the final movie was a banger.
Oh man.
Right?
In all the ways.
Yeah. Okay, so we've talked a lot about the movie, but I also did give you some homework to read, right?
Yeah, we actually have surprisingly not talked about plagiarism all that much, which I am pleased by, to be completely honest. But I feel like we would do our listeners a disservice if we didn't broach the subject a little bit harder than we have thus far.
Well, we didn't talk about our feelings about it, really. We talked about stories about it.
That's what I'm talking about.
How the movie kind of deals with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But people want to hear our thoughts. Our THOTS. Our thoughts about plagiarism.
Yeah. So, Blake, what are your thoughts about plagiarism?
I'm largely against it. Against the charge of plagiarism. And I came about it in a weird way, because when I was in academia, I was all about, oh man, this is very pertinent. This is very important that you don't, you be original. You think for yourself. Well, I think there's a way to be a plagiarist and be a critical thinker. I don't think that those are mutually exclusive things. Now, you have to be fairly intelligent to pull it off, mind you, but I think it's doable. I came about it by listening and reading about hip-hop music and sampling and all of the butthurt rock bands and other musicians that didn't like that hip-hop was quote-unquote taking their music and making trash out of it. And it made me really, really dislike in copyright law, for that matter, because I always got the sense that our understanding of putting work into something is so very tiny and limited, as to make it almost kind of pointless and useless. I remember teaching I was trying to think, it was American history, of course, when I was a TA. I remember I used to have to change up for each class I taught how I would approach the class, because some people, some classes were a little bit more playful, and so you would kind of play to that element more, and some were, good, deep thinkers, and so you would kind of be more philosophical there. I remember one time we were talking about what it is for land to become the property of someone, and the differing ideas around what that involves, what work has to be put into it. And for anyone who hasn't studied that specific history, there's a lot of different ideas about what constitutes quote-unquote property. and what work is instituted into the making of that property. And I would go through all these different ways. Like I would say, what do you perceive as worthy of putting into a thing, investing in a thing in order to quote unquote make it yours? And there were some really fascinating thoughts that the kids would come up with about what it means and how we understand, acquiring land specifically, but really anything.
Yeah.
Because, if you think about medieval times, like, even up into, sharecropping post antebellum South, you are looking at people who put a lot of work into the land and ultimately would not quote unquote own it. And so there's just a lot of philosophical, ethical, moral elements to what constitutes property that copyright law seems to just completely fucking ignore.
Yeah.
And that's why I despise it. And so, yeah, I don't know, like, because I sent you an article and it's in our references about what makes plagiarism bad, or I don't remember the title exactly, but it was basically an argument, not necessarily against uh, the charge of plagiarism, but basically saying like, why is academia so bound up with this specific crime? Because it does seem like you could literally murder someone in a college and not have the same reputation death that you have unless you quote unquote stole someone's intellectual property, whatever the fuck that means. And so it's yeah, I find it's a little bougie, to be honest.
It's a little much. A little much.
I don't know.
Well,
what are your thoughts on that?
No, I think tying it to like the idea of property and I guess I should come out about this, but I am a landowner.
Mm-hmm.
I own a small plot of land in Chico, California. But that's always struck me as the most ridiculous idea in the world.
Yeah.
Like, how can you own the earth? I've always thought like those things that say like you own property on the moon are so funny to me just because of how just ridiculous they are.
Yeah.
Just you can see it and you can own it. You paid someone money for for this. Like, how did they get it? They were the first person to write it down that they owned it.
Yeah.
And that's how they get it. And a lot of intellectual work works the same way, right?
Yeah.
You're probably not the first person to think this thought. Maybe, but maybe not.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're the first person to write it down, why does that give you specialer rights than anyone else?
Yeah.
Why does that make you, why does that make you the original? And so there are a lot of, lots of holes in that. And especially like if you think about, I don't know, if you study the history of mathematics, like we ascribe theorems all the time to people who just popularized the idea, who didn't even come up with it. And, even that's suspect. And yeah, there are original ideas. I'm not saying that there aren't, but who gives a rip if you if if you get attributed, if you believe that knowledge should be free and free flowing and that everyone deserves it, then, why would you try to protect it in a cage? And I ultimately think that, like, the way we approach it is as if these ideas live in cages.
Yeah.
And you're only allowed to access them if you know the right combination and you can use it in this very specific way. And that's just bananas to me.
Yep.
Like, it really makes zero sense.
Well, and if you're going to be intellectually honest with yourself, you would need academics who would need to notate every person that fed into the way in which they arrived at their opinion. And that would be nearly impossible because not every source is direct. Sometimes it's ambient. There are people we read and we don't recognize the effect they have on us until probably much later, if ever we recognize it. And so how is that on some level not intellectual property that has been plagiarized?
And I think I'm a big fan of giving people their due.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
made to them. I think you should approach things with a humbleness and your ideas and the work that you do. And I definitely think you should strive to credit people when you can. And I think that's virtuous. But I don't think it's evil if you fail at that.
Yeah. And not only that,
I just don't.
I also think that making it a quote-unquote crime doesn't actually do anything. At worst, you can say that they're lazy. I mean, sure, like as far as virtue goes, laziness is not great. It's not a good, but it's not condemning. We're all a little lazy sometimes. And so I find academia's obsession with it to be a little, it's like an improper fraction. It's a little too heavy. Like it doesn't quite work. That didn't quite work. Like just like my analogy, it didn't quite work.
Oh, I appreciate it.
Yeah,
I got it.
Yeah. So
you're still cool with me.
Hey, I'll take it. Or as my math teacher in middle school used to say, it's Dolly Parton. Big on top, small on bottom. There you go.
Nice. I love the little anecdote that starts that article. I think it's called "Is Plagiarism Bad?" That's kind of, it's about, so it's written by Agnes
Collard. Collard. I think it's Collard.
Collard. Yeah, who is a philosophy professor at the University of Chicago, I think.
So.
But her family immigrated from Romania. It's in the article. If I'm getting this wrong, you can read the article and you can correct me. Call in and correct me, and then we'll play that. So she talks about this story about how she was like 5 or 6 when they moved, and she was in first grade in the United States, and her teacher gives the class an assignment to write a poem, and write a poem that's theirs. And so she spends 2 minutes, writes down a poem, brings it to the teacher, and the teacher looks it over and then looks at her and says, did you write this? And she goes, yes, I did.
You saw me
just now.
write it.
You saw me write it. And then she's like, no, Shel Silverstein wrote this. And then she embarrasses her in front of the class, and she calls her mom, and she talks about how, like, to her 6-year-old brain, she did the prompt correctly.
Yeah.
She wrote a poem herself down that she had memorized. Mm-hmm. And her take on memorization was that is when it becomes yours. You know, you have this ownership once you know it by heart. And it's interesting because that is a completely different take on it than academia. And I don't think she was arguing for taking that approach in daily life, you know, and that as adults, but she was saying, look, you know, if a child can misinterpret what you're saying, then maybe your rules don't make all the sense that you think they do.
Exactly.
And I just thought that was kind of interesting.
Well, and you think about fiction and poets, or fiction writers and poets, and all these creative people out there. To this day, you'll hear over and over again from writers and poets and musicians, once I got it done with, I had to release it into the world, and at that point, it's no longer mine. And you're like, exactly. Why do we not, like, am I the only one who understood, who heard that? Like, if you are doing the work of listening to it, partaking in the creative reading and or listening or whatever of it, and it becomes part of your being, at what point does it become part of you? Like, I mean, it's of course it's nebulous. There's not a way to, like, but that's the problem is that it's not actually about the intellectual property. It's about money.
It's about being able to sell it, being able to monetize it, and that in and of itself is a bastardization of the thing,
exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Too, like, and I think you know, tying it back to the movie, I think that there are these kind of two concepts of plagiarism floating about, and one of them, I think the movie takes a strong sentiment against, which is the plagiarism that causes, I guess, derivativeness.
Yeah.
And you know, there's this kind of existential threat that you keep taking ideas. It's like a cassette tape that you just keep recording the same song, you know, over and over again, and then it becomes noise. And I think that's if the movie itself takes a moral stand, it's at that type of mirroring, that type of plagiarism. But I think there's another question it asks, which is, so you have kind of Tim's character again, and I think I alluded to this, but one point in the movie, the girls ask him, like, is your life even worth it?
Yeah.
It's just, you know, it's just a series of happenstances. It's just, you know, this conglomeration of whatever, and you're just this scum.
Yeah.
You know, is it worth it? And I think the movie takes a stand against that and says, no, you know, this person is worthwhile, and that is worth, you know, Tim is worthy, And he gets a sense to kind of escape the trap that he's put in, but he's by no means an original person.
No.
So
Well, and
yeah,
and she asks Amanda the same exact question towards the end of the movie, which is ultimately what makes Amanda. I actually like this scene a lot when Lily asks Amanda, like, then, basically, like, is your life worth living? Because you don't have the ability to emote or feel the things that the rest of us do, or see the world in the same light, or, have the same relationships with people. All these things. Like, she's basically naming all these things, and she was like, at what point does your life become meaningless? And Amanda actually ponders it. She's like, never really thought about that. But you're right. And that's when she decides to drink the rest of the retinol. And that's that is actually, to be honest, the moment where I was like, I think Lily's been playing her the whole time.
yeah,
Because she knew that would be, after all this, that would be the one argument that would tip her over. And I think it plays into the idea that we've been talking about, in the sense that, just because we did not create or write this thing, it doesn't mean that it is meaningless, that we have interpolated or written down this poem as a sixth grader, for a class where we're supposed to write down our own poem. Like, it's not meaningless. The fact that she wrote down Shel Silverstein, from what I know of Shel Silverstein, would have absolutely pleased him.
yeah,
And he would have been honored by it to have been written down by a sixth grader in a class. So,
well, yeah, and so his poem, ends up becoming this story about this girl that writes it.
yeah.
And if you're looking at the poetry, though, if you're looking at the poetry as through this kind of narrow academic lens, then she may have misspelled something. Maybe it was actually worse. Maybe the derivation of it was bad. But what it indicates and what it becomes inside of her becomes greater than that.
Exactly.
And that's where I think plagiarism misses the mark. Is not only are we criticizing, does academia criticizes the work, the derivative work, but it also criticizes, why would you steal someone else's thought? Why would you try to make that your own?
Yeah.
And it doesn't, it's stifling. It doesn't have a sense of, becoming a part of you.
When it demands immediate gratification too, because we don't have a sense that this poem that the sixth grader took in to her being, we expect if it has bloomed inside of her, it should happen right then and there, when in fact it may be when she's 60, when the full fruition of whatever started with that poem being memorized comes to fruition.
Yeah.
And who's to say that what she did in that moment was plagiarism, if we know in fact that it leads to this down the road? Like, but we can say that because it's not immediate, and we can't immediately commodify it.
Oh,
Yeah.
all right.
Well,
good talk,
yeah.
Blake.
I think within the big scheme of things, this has been our most on target and most insightful episode.
I think it's also going to end up being our longest episode.
Yeah, more than likely. I might
So
hack
if you-
it. I might hack it just to make it shorter.
But what would you hack, Blake?
Just
If you had 5 fingers, would you want to cut off any of them?
no. It would hurt.
Yeah,
it
that's
would
right.
hurt. And I wouldn't get anything for it.
They're all useful in their own right.
Exactly. Even the bad ones.
What is your worst finger?
My pinky. I mean, it does jack shit.
Well, that's because you don't do your pinky lifts. I've been telling you for weeks. You got to do your pinky lifts.
I am kind of weak on this side.
You got to just add some weight to it after you can do, if you could do like 50 of them, then you can start adding weights to them.
I'm not even sure if I could do 50 by itself without starting to move the rest of my fingers. On that note,
With that attitude, yeah.
I think on that, I think we should end on that note. Pinky lifts.
Pinky lifts. All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Everyone, do your pinky lifts. Bye.